Who knows?
I said it's one of them.
Yeah. We're live with another episode of BS Busters, and I am joined by.
You are Eli Moonstar, and I thank you all for coming this interestingly cold Saturday.
All right.
And of course, this is Mr. Red Fox himself, owner and proprietor of the BS Busters.
That's right. I was busy setting something up real quick. So yeah, me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. Tonight we have only three topics. We'll get through it relatively quickly, so we'll probably will wind up not having as long of a cast as we normally do. But before we go any further, let's get into it. So basically, we will be discussing the confirmation that Microsoft tried to buy EA, Nintendo, and Square Enix. We finally have confirmation for this, and why those deals did not go through. Second, we'll address the continuous rumors coming out of CD Projekt Red concerning their the initial development of Cyberpunk 2077 and the resuscitation plan that CD Projekt Red has trying to bring that game to the state it should have been when it initially launched. And we have a
A
couple
fun
of
topic.
we have a couple of fun topics. I forgot to add this one earlier in the uh,
In the
queue
lineup.
of what was into the lineup. The first one is what legacy franchise desperately needs a reboot, and then the second one is what franchise, what arcade franchise desperately needs to be brought to a home console. So basically, we're talking arcade games that maybe you played in the arcade once or twice, and you're like, "This is really good. This should be on a home console." Never got a home console release. So that being said, we also will be doing a return of the a-hole of the week in video gaming. I have one just because I had to basically put this video together, and I was like, okay, this is some asshole shit right here. So that being said, let's dive into it. Who wants to go? You wanna go first into the
Uh,
story?
let, let's talk about it. Since, if anything, it's no surprise that Microsoft has I'm trying to be polite about this because I'm probably going to get sexually through with this one. Um, inept inept equipment when it comes to first party power. Oh God, that sounded rough.
Okay, so
I
basically, this story comes from. Well,
and if I,
I'm getting
I was
it.
about, okay,
I'm getting it from
sorry.
Games Radar. But basically, Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo, EA, and Square Enix.
And ooh, and they and I'm guessing that they all likely laughed them off the stage.
Well, I mean, once you hear what happened, like how it was done, you're gonna be like, oh, well, no wonder this didn't work. Um, like no wonder this failed miserably. So basically, Microsoft reportedly this was back in 2000. Okay. So Microsoft announced that the Xbox was coming in 2000, and they decided, okay, we need some killer apps for this system. All right. So they went to EA. That was their first choice. They went to EA, and EA essentially said no, thank you. But not only did they say no, thank you, they basically wound up saying, like, why should we the reason why we're not interested is because every time you guys have a history of every time something doesn't work out, you guys essentially just stop supporting whatever fails and sweep it under the rug and pretend like it never happened. And if we basically went and got in bed with you guys and helped you build a console, if the console failed and you guys dropped all support for it, we would basically be left holding the bag.
Case in point, Google Hangouts.
Microsoft has nothing to do with Google Hangouts.
Okay, my goof there.
Best example, the Zune. The Zune that Microsoft basically was like, yeah, the Zune is our answer to the iPhone, to the iPod, and the iPhone. And basically, the Zune got its ass kicked commercially for like 2 years, and Microsoft dropped off support, and it was just left hanging. And there's numerous things where Microsoft has done this too. So they actually have kind of sort of a point about that. Um, you know, they have a valid reason as to why they wouldn't support. Um, they'd be hesitant to support that
that group.
that thing. So next, that company. So they said no, thank you, and then they went to Nintendo, and basically, the big thing that happened with Nintendo is that Microsoft basically went to Nintendo and said, "Well, your guys' hardware kind of sucks, so here was the pitch that they had to get Nintendo to buy them. They said the pitch was their hardware stunk, and compared to the Sony PlayStation, it did. So the idea was, listen, you're much better at the game portion of it with Mario and all that stuff. Why don't you just let us take care of the hardware? But that didn't work out.
They got laughed out of the room for that one.
They did. They like Nintendo. They said Nintendo laughed Microsoft out of the room. Literally laughed their asses off. Like the guy's like, yeah, the Kevin Backus, a director for third-party relations on the Xbox project, they just laughed their asses off. Backus said to Bloomberg, like, imagine an hour of somebody just laughing at you. That was kind of how that made me laugh.
It's like you heard the best joke of your entire week, and it's hard to stop laughing at it.
And it was that polite Japanese laugh. You know, that
had to be burning.
That polite. Now, first of all, Microsoft, let me let you in on a little secret, okay? If you're going to buy if you want to buy someone's support, maybe, just maybe, don't shit on their hardware. All right? Maybe, just maybe, don't shit on their hardware. Not to mention, they're like, okay, so you're comparing Nintendo's hardware to Sony's PlayStation. You do realize that the N64, aside from the cartridge limitations, was a more capable system than the PlayStation, right? Dumbasses.
What a flub.
You know, that's
no
the equivalent.
Wonder they were laughing their rear ends off.
That's the equivalent of wanting to buy. That's like me wanting to buy someone's business and start the negotiations by shitting on that business. That is terrible business acumen.
I was going to say, I thought you would go with the idea of trying to buy a restaurant and insulting their food.
Well, it's the same thing. You're just like, oh, well, this food is good, but your wait staff sucks. It's like, wait, what? How'd that work? How does that work? But I mean, that's basically what they did, and I'm not really surprised they got laughed out of the room. Like, not only am I not really surprised, but
you expected it.
Well, I mean, like when you come into the room shitting on their hardware, which I mean, let me put it this way. Considering, like, in the irony of ironies about all of this is that Microsoft had the nerve to shit on Nintendo's hardware, but they released the Xbox 360 like 4 years later, which had a 50% failure rate with the red ring of death.
I was gonna say, kind of shot their own selves in the foot with that line.
Like, how are you going to talk about how shitty your hardware is when your second iteration of your hardware had a 50% failure rate? That's kind of stupid, really.
Yeah, even even some of the even when even when Nintendo has their off times, like the Joy-Con, it is a lot more. It's a lot more reliable than what happened with the console bricking half the time with the Xbox 360.
Well, to be fair with the Joy-Con, I think the Joy-Con's failure rate is like 30%. So 30% of Switches have a defective Joy-Con. But, statistically, how many people are going to use their Joy-Con enough to where it's going to fail? Because, like, I mean, I might have a defective Joy-Con, but the thing is, I use a Pro controller for most of my Switch gaming. So even if I had a defective Joy-Con, I'm not gonna know about it, because I don't really play my Switch in.
Yeah, that's the thing. I rarely I rarely use my Joy Cons at times when I have when I have my control when I have my wireless controller charged.
And to be fair, I mean Nintendo kind of listen. Nintendo fucked up with the left Joy-Con thing, but at least for fixes for the left Joy-Con, they didn't fight people about it. Microsoft, people forget that for the first year of the Red Ring of Death with the Xbox 360, Microsoft fought tooth and nail not to replace those problems. They did everything they possibly could to not admit that there was a problem. So it's two completely different.
Atmospheres.
Well, it's a similar situation, but how they basically dealt with it are two completely different things. Ways, if you get my drift, you know.
Yeah.
But we're not done. They tried to buy Square Enix as well. Um, and basically, what happened with Square Enix is kind of funny because they were planning on buying Square Enix. They went to the CEO of Square Enix. They had like little business dinner and all that shit. And what happened was is that Microsoft is the next day they're in the business room, and one of the people said our banker would like to speak, and the banker stood up and said, "Well, concerning you purchasing Square Enix, the price is too low." And they all walked out of the room.
The price is too low.
Yeah, like the opposite of the rent is too damn high guy.
I was wondering what was the what was the price they set? Because
I
I
don't
have
know,
to.
but whatever it was too low. Whatever the price was, it was too damn low. That's
I just it gives me the feeling of watching a kid try to get on a ride and see they're too short.
so. But anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is this: Microsoft only like recently with the three continuous like Microsoft even back then was arrogant as fuck in the video game industry. Unearned arrogance. Okay? Unearned arrogance in the console industry. And for you Microsoft fanboys out there, Microsoft, despite having their prodigious huge sums of money, have never quote unquote won a single console gen. Never. The original Xbox, they sold 20 million and they thought that was a failure. The 360 eventually cracked 100 million, but the highest selling console of the seventh gen was the Wii. Uh, and we all know that while the Xbox One's the debacle of the Xbox One. So Microsoft just a continuous fuck up over and over again. So what else can I say except Microsoft is pathetic? Even back then, they were pathetic. And people wonder why I don't like Microsoft consoles or anything. I don't like Microsoft in the video game industry because they're arrogant as fuck, and it's unearned arrogance. It's the equivalent of someone. Um,
A rich boy trying to get in on a home business.
it's the equivalent of a wrestler thinking that he's more badass than a professional boxer. And when I say a wrestler, I don't mean like college wrestling, like
I
real
was about
wrestling.
to say
I mean that
one of those backyard
WWF,
wrestlers.
WWE bullshit.
What?
It's like you're
Oh,
not on the same level as a professional boxer. I'm sorry.
oh, oh God! I'm sorry, but you got me laughing for the right reasons. Cause I call I call wrestling like that real fake.
It is fake.
Yeah, though I got a family that says that it's real since they do their own stunts. Oh God, boo.
I
Yeah,
mean, they can
I
they can believe whatever they want to. I mean, a lot of people actually no. Wrestling isn't fake. It's staged. Okay? Now, what I mean by staged, I mean like everything you see, almost everything that you see in a wrestling match, especially big matches where they aren't squash matches, are designed to look like it's designed to play on the crowd's emotions in order to make one person look strong and the other person look weak. All right. And generally speaking, in 70% of the matches that you see in wrestling, the winner has already been predetermined before anyone walks to the ring. Um, and that, I mean, could you imagine if any other quote unquote real sport did that? Like if it, but like before two NFL teams even got to the stadium, walked on the field, it was already predetermined that one side was gonna basically play badly, so the other side won.
that this reminds me of some of those movies that has those rigged bets.
I mean, that's
Oh,
basically what it is.
dang.
You know, like, but wrestling. I mean, wrestling doesn't even call itself a sport. Wrestling calls itself a
Entertainment.
entertainment. Because, like I said, there's no legit sport where um, the winners and losers have been predetermined before the shit even begins, and that's what happens in wrestling. So people need to understand that wrestling is staged. You know, not to mention, I mean, let's just keep it real. If you hit someone in the head, anyone in the head with a steel folding chair, like they aren't getting back up after 2 or 3 minutes.
They're likely seeing stars and hidden Z before
Well,
by
that's
then.
a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's over. That's a fucking concussion.
Yeah, those attacks that hit that are hitting them, those are fake shots.
But they don't bring that shit up. They're like, no, it's not. Come on, man. Let's keep it 100% real here. We all know what this shit's really about. It's staged, and personally, I mean, look, listen, all wrestling is staged. All right. Um, but as someone that used to be into wrestling, like back in the day, like I liked wrestling back in the day when it was like, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, Randy Savage. Even though, like I always liked heels. Uh, like even during the new era with like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, like I always liked Stone Cold Steve Austin more than I like The Rock. I don't know. I don't know why. I guess because I liked the I liked the persona. I think it was hilarious. You know, can I get a hell yeah? And that's the bottom line. Who are
God.
you? I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, and Macho Man Randy Savage. Yo
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
the cream rises to the top. Can you dig it? That roided out maniac.
So, those guys are ego.
Loved it, loved it. I never really liked Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior. I thought the faces in the '80s were shit. Um, and don't get me started on the Nature Boy Ric Flair. You know he was racist, right?
I was hoping that was that wasn't true because this guy really oozed personality.
Oh yeah, he had tons of charisma, but he was totally racist. Like I've heard stories where like there was one of the few black referees in the Southern Circuit. I forget what it was called before WWF bought everything. Vince McMahon bought everything, conglomerized it. But basically, like uh, like the ref touched him. He's like, I don't ever want that near to touch me. And that was Ric Flair. Of course, it's not really surprising when you remember that Ric Flair grew up in the South, like Southern Florida, and you know, white dude from Southern Florida. Come on, man. People are always like, I can't believe they were racist. Come on, man. That's for real.
Makes me sad that that had to happen, but because
Macho
of anything.
Man Randy Savage. I mean, I'll say this much about Randy Savage, even though he was fucking crazy and a roided out maniac. But Randy Savage, like I watched old videos of his matches. Um, like like Ric Flair would basically do the same thing in every fucking match. Same moves over and over again. Different night, but the same routine. Macho Man Randy Savage would mix it up every single match. No two Macho Man Randy Savage matches were the same. And I love that.
Always keeping it fresh there.
So,
Okay, we went from gaming to wrestling.
well, you got to mix it up sometimes. But anyway, so yeah, wrestling is staged. Next, we have the continuous rumors coming out of CD Projekt Red concerning Cyberpunk 2077 and its development and resuscitation plan. So basically, this
They're,
topic,
they're basically trying to pull No Man's Sky after how much of a chaotic mess that their people at the higher up done, right?
yeah, basically they want to pull a No Man's Sky and make it to a better game. Now, here's the thing. I don't really like No Man's Sky even after the upgrades. Not because you know, Hello Games really did make that game much better than it was at launch. That's one of those games where the developers actually did turn it around. And I give Hello Games credit for that. But the problem is that Cyberpunk 2077 2077's developer, like Cyberpunk 20, like CD Projekt Red is like when you were a kid and you'd fuck up in school and your parents would have to come get you, and they would be so mad that they couldn't even yell at you or curse you out. They were just like, "Don't talk, be quiet, shut the fuck up." CD Projekt Red won't do that. Like at this point, the only way CD Projekt Red can turn things around is shut the fuck up and just start fixing the game. It's the only thing they can do. And yet, for some reason, they keep on getting ahead of things. And
Opening
like,
their mouths.
well, I mean, you know, this, that, and the, I'm like, dude, shut up and fix the game.
please tell me it wasn't one of their per per. I'm trying to get the wording right. Um, per, personal. Personal reconnaissance. PR persons.
No. No, this is something a little bit deeper than that. Basically, here's what happened. Apparently, there's no way to corroborate this, but it has too much. Oh, we're joined by Kenoshi. Hello, Kenoshi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
It's okay. We are currently talking about how CD Projekt Red just can't keep. It just nothing. They're like the gang who can't shoot straight. Just shit keeps on going, getting worse and worse and worse for them.
Oh, jeez.
They can't stop fucking up. They just can't.
Oh, wow.
Like, have you ever been driving in the road and there's a clear pothole and you can see it. You can see the pothole, and you're like, okay, let me drive around this pothole. They're like CD Projekt Red is like someone who can clearly see the pothole, ran over it yesterday, ran over it the day before. You'd think they would have learned at this point to dodge the pothole, and they just keep on hitting it. You know, it's like, oh shit, oh goddamn. Now, I don't know how bad or how good the roads are where you live, but I live in the D.C. metropolitan area. We have the third worst traffic in America, and our infrastructure sucks. So, lots of potholes. We spend a lot of money fixing vehicles here because of shit like this. So, I thought it would be an apropos
And
analogy.
no money for the potholes.
Well, they fix them, but there's so many cars on the road. By the time you fix one pothole, another two are discovered. So, you know, it's a never, well, I mean, but that's infrastructure. It's a never ending battle, war of attrition. But, so yeah, CD Projekt Red, instead of just shutting up and working on fixing the game. Now, to be fair, you know, we're up to patch 1.06. So 06 on Cyberpunk. It's much better now than it was when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to shit on them about that, you know, because I find it amazing that people just just keep on shitting on CD Projekt Red all the time, because I mean, really, it's not the developers' fault that this game is the way it is. Now, the management, those motherfuckers need to be brought to task.
Yeah.
But I mean, the developers did the best they could, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did they say this time?
Well, basically, two things. There was a Reddit post that apparently was brought back a while ago that just came in now, where it gained steam recently. Where basically what happened is that CD Projekt, someone who claims that they're a developer at CD Projekt Red, on this Reddit post claimed that CD Projekt Red wants to do a No Man's Sky type overhaul to bring back what Cyberpunk 2077 could have been, and I have nothing against that. The problem is that there's also a lot of other information that came out that only someone who was an insider at CD Projekt Red could kind of could get. So, which lends credence to the other things this person said. Things like that. There's massive sections of the game that were cut out that will be added later on as free DLC. Also, that they don't really like Keanu Reeves, even though he's a really nice person. They would have preferred to have I forget, some other actor. And I'm just like, God damn, this is really kind of specific. Like, this is very detailed if it's not someone who legitimately was involved with it, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, and CD Projekt Red, instead of just like, okay, we don't confirm or deny rumors like Nintendo does, they're fucking like trying to fight this shit. I'm like, look, man, shut the fuck up. Start putting out more patches to fix your damn game. Because at this point, people are gonna believe what they want to believe. But what are your thoughts on it?
That sounds pretty bad. I mean, if you're gonna, you know, say things about your actors or voice actors or whatever, and you're not gonna do like, hey, look, we don't condone this. We don't talk about this. We're just focusing on fixing the game, getting it working, getting our customer loyalty back, and if you're gonna fight rumors or whatnot, it's like this is the it's like it's their first rodeo.
Yeah, I mean, they can either fight rumors or they can fight fixing the game. At this point, I say fuck the rumors and just fix the game. Because the only way, like, here's the thing: the only way CD Projekt Red can get their credibility back, it's kind of like when you get caught cheating in a relationship. Like,
You're gonna have to do a lot of work to fix it.
it's very easy to cheat in a relationship, and it's easy to get caught. It's hard to gain back the trust. It's 3 or 4 times harder to gain back the trust than it was to lose it. It's easy to lose trust. It's hard to get it back. And that's what people don't understand. Or maybe they do understand. So I'm like, CD Projekt Red, you guys need to stop like all this bullshit. Stop with the bullshit.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just my own little personal opinion. So with that being said, what are your guys' thoughts about their resuscitation plan to have a No Man's Sky type revitalization and such, and the rumors, the Reddit rumors, which I unfortunately did not link, but
they're gonna be in it for the long haul. I'm gonna call it right now. But also, whoever is the PR crew, they clearly need to go back to the drawing board or need to get fired to hire some new ones.
yeah, they definitely need to hire a new PR firm or hire a new PR person.
Yeah, cause seriously, you you got so many leaks coming out that it's like that's like Valve just forgot to turn off their faucet.
Because you done
God,
fucked
that
up.
was a bad joke.
You done fucked up. Now, to be fair, I've been having fun with the game. I'm not gonna lie, I've been having fun with the game. I basically can see that there's a good game in there, but the game. Like, here's the thing: the best version of this game is played on a mid-tier to higher end, actually a higher end PC build.
Which you likely have in spades.
Which the average gamer does not have. So if you're not playing this on a high-end PC build, I don't know what to tell you. This game is not for you. If you can't play it on a high-end PC build, this game is not for you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I've heard reports that even the PS5 version, the backwards compatible PS4 PS5 cross-gen version, does not run well on the PS5. Like you can play it for like an hour and it'll crash. But then I've heard reports that some of the PS4 versions that are supposed to be unplayable, even though they've been downgraded, you can play it for some versions of it are relatively stable. Basically, my point is this: this game is not what it should have been on consoles. But I'm not surprised because the game wasn't console was not the lead platform for this game. It's like I recently saw this thing where someone tried to port Mario Brothers to an 8-bit PC, and even though on paper an 8-bit PC is far spec-wise far better than an NES, seeing Mario Brothers run on an 8-bit PC, it runs like ass because it was never built for an 8-bit PC. So, my point being, I'm not surprised that this game runs poorly on consoles because it wasn't made for consoles. And I stand by that statement. Like, it just was not made for consoles, or at least I should say, consoles weren't the lead platform. And it's on CD Projekt Red for releasing a product that incomplete on other platforms. It's also on Microsoft and Sony for letting them get away with it.
Yeah.
Because what's the
Yeah,
use of having
definitely.
Q&A and certification process if anything can get on a platform? But not really surprising considering that Microsoft and Sony let Fallout 76 come to the platform, and that game was a fucking nightmare on everything it was on. So, the double standard is strong here. Anyway, anything else you guys want to bring up before we move on to our next two topics? Nothing? All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Our next two
my,
topics
my
are.
best wishes to them.
Well, I mean, look, listen. I don't want to see people lose their jobs because they were forced into a bad situation by upper level management. Because it's not the developer's fault that this game is in the
I
state
say
it's in.
best wishes to the um to the game itself.
Yeah.
So
Now, GameStop can go out of business. I don't really give a shit. I mean, I feel sorry for the people. I feel sorry for the people, but the employees, but the higher ups, mid tier, upper tier management, fuck those people. I hate GameStop.
and I was about to say, the, are, did GameStop do anything stupid this week to try to get any attention?
GameStop needs to be on blast just for the shit they pulled
Last year?
last year, where we were actually, I don't know why I'm saying we still are in the middle of a viral pandemic, and they were like, we're essential. People need to be
Oh,
able to. It's like, you do realize that every single console and PC, almost every console and PC manufacturer has an online store. So people don't need you. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a bit more expensive, but if I have the choice between going outside and being exposed to a virus that can kill me and my family, or sitting my ass in my house and downloading something for full market price and being safe, I
much
mean,
as I
do I really need to go to GameStop? Really?
much as I much as I'm a physical media person, I have to agree with Red Fox on this one.
I mean, the fact that they would go up there and screw their mouth up, as my grandparents would say, screw your mouth up to say some shit like that. Even printed out a little thing where they were like, "Yeah, guys, you can give this to the cops if they try to shut down your store." I'm like, no. Since never has a video game store been an essential retailer. Now, a grocery store, a drugstore, a gas station, hospitals. Think of it like this: if we were in an apocalyptic situation, okay, you would not be thinking video games on your top 10 of places you need to raid first. All right.
Oh, I got an idea of what to do. Let's find food. Let's find water. Let's find materials. Let's find tools. Let's find gasoline. Let's find engine. Um, do any of those six sound like something that is video game related?
No, but that's neither here nor there. So now we have two fun topics. The first one is, what legacy franchise desperately needs a reboot? Now, when I say a legacy franchise, I mean something that was really hot, like for maybe 2 or 3 gens on console or in arcades or whatever, and now it just kind of has gone away.
Huh. I'm probably going to get blasted for this, but um, either the Final Fight series or the 2D Metroid series.
Those are both fair opinions. Kenoshi?
The 2D Mario games
I mean,
for the 3D for the
oh, you mean the
new
straight up
3D.
traditional 2D Mario games, like that have the
Yeah, the
2D
one-
art style?
Yeah, like they need to like go back to that. Like have a 2D Mario game without the 3D graphic visuals and
I
just go
agree.
straight back to.
I
2D.
agree. I mean, I
Why
like
not?
New Super Mario Brothers art style, but I would prefer that more cell shaded animation style. I mean, I said this before. I would pay $70 for a Nintendo game if they brought back manuals, especially like a Mario game that had those manuals with that art style they had from the old artist.
Yeah.
Because those manuals were fucking awesome looking.
Yeah, they were nice.
Would they do it? Probably not, because Nintendo, they were like they followed the rest of the industry in dropping basic shit that used to be a core aspect of making games in order to lower their production costs of said games. Um, so, you know, oh well. I guess it's my turn. The legacy franchise that I feel desperately needs a reboot. I got three. First one, Castlevania. Castlevania needs a reboot. Um, and I mean like a traditional reboot of Castlevania, not like that bullshit they tried with Mercury Steam where they made it into God of Waravania. Um, Mega Man X. No, 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 not Mega Man X. Because, I mean, they'll probably eventually make a Mega Man X. I want a new installment of the Mega Man Battle Network style Mega Man games that are like action RPGs almost. I think that would be cool. Because we had Mega Man Battle Network, aka
Would,
Rockman.exe.
mhm.
And then they had the successor to that, which was Star Force, which was also pretty good.
Yeah, even though it was a little bit of an odd angle to look at, from behind the hero.
Yeah, it was a little bit different, but the overall idea was pretty much the same. It was the same game, just they changed the viewpoint from side battle to behind the back. But it worked. It got the idea across. But then that franchise just kind of went away, and I'm like, you could totally bring that back.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have to. I mean, sure, the animation ended, but the games couldn't. I mean,
To be
shouldn't.
fair, I never watched the animation. I just played the games.
I know, but the thing is that sometimes they a game that a game sometimes is linked to another thing, like how certain games
Pokemon.
are. Yep. Yeah, I got a rant about that, but I'll save it for off air.
The world's shittiest Pokemon trainer, Ash Ketchum. I still think he's the
Oh
world's
boy.
shittiest Pokemon trainer. Our other fun topic is which arcade franchise needs to be ported over to arcade game or arcade franchise, arcade only franchise needs to be. Oh wait, I didn't have a third one. My third game that I think needs a reboot or to be brought back is F-Zero. F-Zero, 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 F-Zero. And here's the thing, okay? It doesn't even need to be like I'll take F-Zero in one of two forms. It could just be another installment in the franchise, or, and this is what would be more interesting to me, if you basically made it into kind of like almost like a adventure game where you basically you can either play as pre-established characters or you can create your own character and basically like race, battle race, catch bounties if you're Captain Falcon. I think that would be cool. I don't know if they do it, but I personally think it would be cool.
It would draw attention, that's for sure.
Because I mean, at this point, like just having a straight up racing game with incredibly hard tracks is just kind of like boring to me. Like I'm not impressed by just really hard tracks. But that's just my own personal opinion. Anyone else have any other things they want to add before we move on to the next fun topic? Yes or no, maybe so.
I I think I'm set.
All right. Next topic. Which arcade game needs a home port? Now, these are arcade games that have never had a home port. So, something where you're like, man, I wish I could have played that at home, and it's just never gotten a home port. Like Aliens versus Predator, the arcade game, the one made by Capcom.
Probably the weirdest one that's probably going to be on the lineup. Ninja baseball players.
Yeah, that's a pretty good game. I could see that.
I'm actually surprised you know that.
Yeah, that's the one that's like it's like a Konami beat 'em up, but it's got these robot ninjas
That
beating the shit out of.
themed.
Yeah, it's baseball themed, so they all have like baseball bats and catcher's mitts and cleats and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little game. I'm surprised that never got a home port.
Yeah, I was thinking that if anything, that would be the weirdest thing you've heard.
I would say the arcade version of Bucky O'Hare, because there was the NES version of Bucky O'Hare, which is pretty good, but we never got a home port of that arcade game, which is actually also really good.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I heard of it, but I wish I seen it.
Yeah. Captain. Plus, Bucky O'Hare had a really cool theme song.
Oh God! Now I got that song in my head. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Red Fox.
It also had my personal favorite. It had my personal favorite catch line. Let's croak some toads.
Yeah, just one word away from a swear.
Yeah, I mean, all we needed back in the day. All we needed back in the day for cartoon shows was just a really cool theme song, and we were hooked. Like all we needed, I mean, the cartoon could be shit, but as long as it had a cool theme song, we were cool. But you could kind of tell if a show sucked if the theme song sucked too, like Captain N and the Game Masters. Oh my god, it's terrible.
Oh, Thank you for bringing that up too. Oh God, my memory is so remembering all those.
Captain N and the Game. Like, for those of you who ask why, like, remember like a few years ago when the Wii U was failing, and like so-called Nintendo fans were like, why doesn't Nintendo just let Nintendo of America just take control? You want to know why they didn't let Nintendo? You want to know why Nintendo of America just does marketing in America? Because
I was about to say Sega had that kind of idea.
well, no, not just that. When Nintendo of America took over anything, it got us the Super Mario Brothers movie, the Philips CDI getting access to Mario and Legend of Zelda IPs, Captain N the Game Master.
There are certain people on YouTube that worship the whole Captain N thing.
It's terrible.
I've never seen it, so I don't know anything about it.
It's a terrible cartoon based on loosely based on Nintendo IPs. That's it. Like, that's all it is. But here's the thing. It's not even a good cart. Like, it's a shit. The only good thing about it is that it had the best mother brain ever. Because they had the same guy who did the voice for Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors. So Mother Brain sounded vaguely hermaphroditic, you know. We have to defeat the Game Master. It's like, oh shit, that's creepy. You know, like if they took that idea where basically Mother Brain is vaguely like you don't know what gender Mother Brain has, that'd be awesome. Actually be that's the only good thing about that show. Captain N the Game Master, terrible. Like when Nintendo of America was in charge of had any real power, they were very hit or miss, is what I'm saying. All right. They also are the ones who brokered that deal to make that shitty Donkey Kong TV show with that horrifically cheap animation. 3D
Donkey Kong.
What about that terrible movie, The Wizard? Remember that?
They probably helped broker that deal. But the Wizard was one big Nintendo commercial, and it worked because a lot of Nintendo sold. So that was one of their hits. The Super Mario Brothers cartoon. I know a lot of people don't like that show, But that show introduced a lot of kids to the Super Mario mythos and universe. And even though the show is basically like a variety show, it does introduce a lot of shit that's in the games to gamers. So that's a hit. Like the 2-3 iterations of that show, those are hits. But that Legend of Zelda TV show was trash. Well, excuse me, princess. That is like the shittiest version of Link I have ever seen before. Like that version of Link is so shitty that I would rather take Breath of the Wild's annoying ass Link over that Link any day. I hate that Link. Well, excuse me, princess. I'll save you, princess, for a kiss. And their version of the Master Sword was trash. It was like a dagger.
I was about to say, and we're talking about Lionel's mini sword, isn't it? Before it becomes big, right?
No, just period. The Master Sword in the Legend of Zelda TV series was it's like that's not the Master Sword.
That's what I was thinking. The Master Sword in there is like Lionel's sword before it grows.
Yeah. Which that whole thing was a euphemism for an erection, but it it was that was the entire point of Lionel's sword in.
I'm just laughing at it because every time I think that, it always gives me a chuckle.
Thundercats. Ho!
Yeah, I was about to say. Apparently, Link's sword doesn't stand at attention against the forces of evil.
He had that little tiny Master Sword. I'm like, that is not the Master Sword. That's the Master Dagger. No wonder he's always getting his ass kicked by Ganondorf. He's got that little tiny dagger that he's trying to fight monsters with. No wonder he's getting his ass kicked.
The Dagger of Evil's Bane. Yeah, you need to change your class from warrior to rogue.
Take my knife. My little tiny weak ass knife. And they also had a really shitty version of Ganon too. I was like, this is just.
Well, what do you expect? The worst version of Link and the Master Sword? Worst version of Ganon.
Were these cartoons ever televised, or were they?
They were on TV.
Oh, they were.
They're on TV.
They were on TV, man. You can go look them up on YouTube. They were on television.
I missed that. I missed that stuff.
Yeah.
When I was younger.
You missed the bad. Like the only good cartoons that we had that were based on video games were, I'll keep it real. The Super Mario Brothers show was pretty good. It was campy, but it was good. With Captain Lou Albano and Phil, what's his name? Do the Mario. That show was pretty good. The sequel to that show that took place in Super Mario Brothers 3 was also pretty good. The sequel to that show, which was the one that was based on Super Mario World and Dinosaur Land, and all that shit, that was good too. So those 3 shows were good. The Legend of Zelda show was trash. I'm not gonna lie, it was a steaming pile of dog shit. Captain N the Game Master, also trash. Believe it or not, Double Dragon, the cartoon, pretty good. I mean, it was only loosely based on the video game, but it's still, the overall gist of the game was in there. It's just how they extrapolated it was kind of inspired. And basically the show kind of suffered from that early 90s syndrome where they had to have a message instead of just trying to sell toys all the time. So you had the obligatory episodes where, like, Jimmy gets hooked on steroids and can't use his dragon abilities because he doesn't have a pure body. And I'm like, but it's not his fault. They literally held him hostage and injected him with steroids against his will. Like, I mean, if you're forced to take a hit of cocaine, I don't think that should be, like, I can't use my martial arts abilities because they forced me to take a drug. Like, a breakdown in logic. The Donkey Kong TV show sucked. It was terrible.
Oh, the Oh, the 3D. Oh, I remember that. Ooh.
Hey, look out down below! It's Donkey Kong. That show was terrible. That show was embarrassingly bad.
Oh yeah, I remember. I think that was like on
My
what was that? Like
my
Fox
nightmares
Kids or
are
something.
returning. Thank you
Yeah,
guys very
it
much.
was. To believe it or not, I'll tell you a show that was tangentially about video games, but there was practically no video games. It was like there were games based on it, but it wasn't based on a video game. Reboot. Reboot was about video games, but it was good. Reboot was a good show. Reboot was good. It
I
was
remember
legitimately
that
good.
show. It was cheesy. It was campy. It was so much fun.
But Reboot
Especially
had
when
good
it-
writing. Like you can still
Especially
go
when
back.
it had good arcs about it.
Yeah, Reboot had character development and good writing and good voice acting. Now the 3D
Even with
animation doesn't quite stand up as
I was
well.
about to say,
Oh.
that 3D animation was, well, the
I'm
highest
sure
quality
it
of
was.
its time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
remember
catch
liking
that
it.
quote.
I remember liking it a lot at the time, but now, oh man.
Like here's what I'll say about Reboot. Reboot's 3D animation, much like Beast Wars 3D animation, isn't the best comparatively speaking, but the writing is still so good that you can still watch those shows and get enjoyment out of them. Like Reboot is still enjoyable to watch just because of the strength of the acting and the writing. Same thing with Beast Wars. Which is amazing because we haven't gotten a Transformers cartoon that was as well received as Beast Wars in the original cartoon from the 80s. And if Disney were smart, this is where Disney fucked up. They made that Tron reboot, like Tron Reloaded. But here's the thing: they already had a template on how to make a Tron movie. Watch Reboot. Reboot's essentially just Tron. It's literally just Tron,
Yes.
but a TV
Yes.
show. And they couldn't get that right. No, we need to bring back old ass Jeff Bridges and digitize his face and turn Tron into a bitch. Cause yeah. I'm like, why? Two fucking Tron movies and neither of them star Tron. What type of bullshit is this? That's like making a Bruce Lee movie and the main character in both movies is not the character who's supposed to be Bruce Lee. That's the shit we're dealing with. But whatever. But yeah, most of the video game based cartoons sucked. Oh, let's see. Who else had a video game based cartoon? Mortal Kombat. That's right. Make a kid friendly cartoon for a game that is basically at the time R-rated.
I'm
That's
sorry.
really smart.
That nearly made me hurl.
But they also made Street Fighter the cartoon. that was.
If you want to talk about cartoons based on video games,
It was bad, but also fun.
Yeah,
it was bad fun.
I was going to say one of mine.
That Street Fighter 2 movie. Oh, that's terrible. But
The Street Fighter 2 movie is terrible, but there is one redeeming factor in that film, and that is Raul Julia. That poor man was dying, but when he was acting, it was great.
No, I'm talking about the animated movie.
Oh, the Street Fighter 2 animated movie?
Yeah, with the bad English voice actor.
Yeah, you gotta watch that with dubs.
You gotta.
I mean, with subs. But I mean, actually, the animated movie is actually still pretty good. The animation's pretty good.
The animation's decent.
Seeing Ryu and Ken get the shit kicked out of them by M. Bison is hilarious. Cause here's the thing: everyone's always like, "Yeah, Ryu is so badass." Ryu and Ken are not at the same level as M. Bison. Literally, they are not at the same level.
I was about to say that Bison is like super villain, while Ken and Ryu are basically what was it? Goku at the very start of Dragon Ball.
No, they're not even Goku. They're Yamcha and Krillin.
Oh!
Okay? They're Yamcha and fucking Krillin. Okay, there is no Goku in the Street Fighter universe. No one is that powerful in the Street Fighter universe. There is no overarching character who wins all the time in Street Fighter.
I know.
They try to do it with Ryu, but then they introduced
how to compare and Bison to those two in animation terms.
He's pretty badass though. And here's what I'll say about Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. It's the only film that has M. Bison in it who he like in the animation, he uses all of his moves from the video game. Like this cheap ass slide kick, he does it against Ryu and Ken. It's so cheap. They're like, we're doing the shit. Oh, that's so cheap. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's a cheap bastard. he beats the shit out of both Ryu and Ken. They double team him. He kicks both their asses. It's great. I love it. It also has Chun-Li, Fluttering Bird. Fluttering Bird kicking the shit out of Vega through a brick wall. And I'm like, yeah, I know she kicked the shit out of you, but I mean, it's worth it. You had a panty shot. It's like, it's worth it. Worth it. Worth it.
Is it worth it to get your rear end smacked through the walls?
Yes.
For a view of that.
Because she's hot.
I was about to say, she's hot, but she's deadly.
So?
I was going to say, you honestly want to be hurt to get a view of that.
It was worth it.
I was also hoping to see her Kapukin, but that I don't. When was that introduced? Her fireball.
Her fireball. Yeah, she had it in Street Fighter 2, but she doesn't really do it in the animated movie.
I thought it was introduced in one of the iterations.
If you watch the Street Fighter anime, not the cartoon, the anime, which is basically the Street Fighter anime is basically like a prequel to the original Street Fighter, and it basically tells about how the origins of all these characters. Like the thing is like for someone, it took a while. It was hard for Ryu and Ken to even learn how to use their Hados. It's a very like you have to be really powerful to reach that level to where you can embody your Hado and use it as an attack. It took Ryu by the end of the anime can barely use his Hado against M. Bison. So Chun-Li's not gonna have hers.
Yeah.
So, and poor. Although I think the anime is also really cool because it has Ryu and Ken fighting Guile. And there's two of them. They double team him. He kicks their asses royally. I mean, he beats the shit out of them. And I'm like, good, because I mean, here's the thing. Here's what shonen anime, like Dragon Ball Z, miss out on. Okay. A hero is only as the hero needs to get their ass kicked so that they can come back and become more powerful. It doesn't work if your hero is always going to rise to the occasion and they just don't get decimated. That's not the point, right?
They need a point to rise up from.
Heroes need to get their ass kicked every once in a while so then they can come back, right? Batman needs to get his ass kicked every once in a while so that he can be like, you know what, maybe, I need to reevaluate this situation. It doesn't work if every character is just all powerful all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what attracted me to Naruto when it first came out, because, and I think that's what attracted you to One Piece, because there were times where characters got beat up and they had to go away, get stronger. They had to contemplate things.
And I give it to, and they don't always win. There are times where even now, Luffy and his crew, even though they're more powerful than they were in the first, in the first arc, they are still people who can kick their asses, and they have to go back and be like, okay, look, we need to reevaluate our situation. Like. That's why I'm personally going to say this. One Piece is better than Dragon Ball Z as a long-running anime. Because every character gets their chance to shine. Every character has strengths and weaknesses.
And the filler is not total trash.
The filler is still interesting, and every character gets their moment to shine. Whereas Dragon Ball Z is the Goku show.
Yeah.
To its detriment or its weakness, it's the Goku show. Even Naruto turned into the Naruto show. It's like there's all these other interesting characters. No, fuck that.
Yeah.
Goku, Naruto show.
Yep, it has that same problem.
See how awesome Rock Lee is? Yeah, fuck him. It's the Naruto show. You see how awesome Shikamaru is? Yeah, fuck him. It's the Naruto show. Oh, you see how this whole show is about how ninjas must sacrifice for the greater good? Oh, we're going to completely throw that out the window so that we can use the power of friendship, even though the person who the main character is trying to be friends with tried to destroy the village that the person was sworn to protect as their duty. But hey, they're friends! Ugh, fuck that show. Sorry. Fuck that manga too.
Yeah, the whole power of friendship thing I'm kind of over when it comes to that stuff.
Like, the power of friendship does not work like that. And I'm tired of it.
Yeah, it's bad. The whole power of friendship is kind of badly written.
The power of friendship is supposed to bring somebody that is mentally unstable back from the brink of insanity, not to try to save the world from an alien invasion.
The power of friendship only works when you're talking about someone's been brainwashed. Like if you watch Street Fighter the animated movie, basically Ken Masters gets kidnapped by Shadow Lu. Yeah, it's actually Shadow Lu, not Shadow Law. Shadow Lu, and they basically brainwash him into being like a Shadow Law soldier. It's not Evil Ken, because Evil Ken didn't exist at that point. He's just brainwashed. And they brainwash him to kill Ryu. And so basically, like, because believe it or not, according to the lore, believe it or not, Ryu back in the day when they were training could never beat Ken.
Oh, wow.
So they're like rivals against each other, okay? So essentially, they're like friendly rivals, not like, they're like how, I don't know. There isn't an anime equivalent I can really give because they're basically kind of like Vegeta and Goku. Except in this case, Vegeta, when they were training, it was like Vegeta was Ryu and Goku was Ken. And he could never beat him when they were training. Now, things have changed because Ken became a family man and settled down and he doesn't train as much as he used to. But when they were training, like, he was always like, they'd have spars and Ken would always kick his ass. So the whole point, as a matter of fact, they explain that's how Ryu got his red bandana, is that it belonged to Ken. And they were training, and Ryu gets knocked down this cliff and cracks his head, and Ken gives him this red part of his gi to bandage the thing, and that's how he got his red bandana. Pretty neat thing. Okay, very interesting storyline. All right.
Great lore.
Great lore. But anyway, the whole point is that Ryu and Ken have this unconscious rivalry against each other, this competitive rivalry. They brainwash Ken and set him to kill Ryu. And basically, like Ryu basically is like, he's like, look, I don't want to fight you like this because you're my best friend. Like, they're practically brothers, even though, you know, they're not blood related, but they see themselves as brothers. Yeah, they see themselves as family. So he's like, I don't want to fight you like this. So like the entire time during the fight, he's just being defensive and getting his ass handed to him. But he eventually gets through to him because like Ken has a flashback of he has a flashback of when they were training, and like Ken breaks the brainwashing.
Yeah.
And then they fight M. Bison together, and initially they get their ass kicked by M. Bison. It's pretty cool. Then they do a double Hadouken to M. Bison and knock him off a cliff, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, if you ever get a chance, watch the Street Fighter animated movie. It's pretty damn good. I know
I've seen it.
The dub, not very good.
No,
you gotta watch it. It's got really bad voice acting, but it's bad good, not like this is totally unwatchable.
The bad voice acting is actually mildly entertaining.
It's bad good, except for the guy who does the voice for Guile. He sounds exactly like Guile would sound. And you know what I like about the animated movie? Street Fighter, the animated movie, shows that Ryu isn't this rah-rah good guy. He's a dick. Like, he straight up murders a guy. He murders a guy in one of the scenes in the movie. Like he's in a street fight and a guy like starts talking shit to him and he headbutts the guy in the nose, driving his nose up into his brain, instantly killing him.
Oh,
Ryu's a dick. Like, people are like, oh, he's the hero of the series. No, he's
I was
not.
about to say, Rio is a mix between
He's
a tryhard and a prick.
Well, he's more like the he's like the manga version of Goku. Cause Goku in the manga, like that shit you see in the anime where Goku's like, no, we got to do the right thing. He's an asshole in the manga. Even as a kid, he was an asshole.
Yeah, I was thinking that he was more like a kid version of a prick.
He's not to that level. Like, that's more like Vegeta. He's just kind of he's just an asshole. He's just a real, like, the only thing Ryu wants to do is find someone who will challenge him and let him fight to pull out his greatest potential while fighting.
Yeah, and of course that's how Sagat got his famous mark.
Yeah, because he was getting his ass kicked, and Ryu was getting his ass kicked, and Sagat knocked his ass down, and he's like, I guess the fight's done, and he went down to grab him and give him the handshake and be like, okay, it's over, and Ryu did that fucking shoryuken to his chest, and gave him that scar. So, I mean, you know, my point is this: Ryu is a dick. You know, people are like, oh, Ryu, he's so awesome. He's a dick.
I was gonna say, he evolved out. He hopefully evolved out of that, but
No,
back then he was a prick.
not really, because basically Ryu, if you read the mangas, basically Ryu's father is Akume, and Akume.
Wait, why do I have that
Akuma?
bad feeling that he's like Akuma?
Yeah, well, that's why both. Like, here's the thing. You know how Ryu has his when the Dark Hado takes him over, he turns into evil Ryu.
Oh.
Well, basically,
yeah.
Ryu has never succumbed completely to the Dark Hado. Akuma did. That's why he's so fucking insane. Because, like, so basically, so that's why, like, both of them suffer from that. We have to fight stronger people and become more powerful. It's why Akuma killed his brother, Jin. Like, Akuma just cannot stop murdering shit because he has to find a stronger opponent all the time. It also fucks up his defense. It makes his defense really, like, in exchange for being insanely powerful, his defense isn't that good. Yeah, his defense isn't that good. Yeah, there's lore to the Street Fighter stuff, but you're not going to get it from the games. You got to read the officially sanctioned Capcom mangas, which I did because I am a Street Fighter fan, so I did. Street Fighter, or Fighter Street, if you have the TurboGrafx 16, the shitty port to TurboGrafx 16. But anyway, yeah. Street Fighter the animated series is pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. The Street Fighter movie was pretty good. The Mortal Kombat cartoon sucked. Let's see, what other video games had cartoons? The Pac-Man cartoon sucked.
I was gonna say, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. So
The Kirby cartoon sucked too.
Hold on, Kirby right back at ya.
Yep.
I find it mixed entertainment, as in there's some gold in there, but oh boy, have fun searching for it.
Yes, there's some gold, a golden shower.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Kirby Right Back at You was terrible. It was a steaming pile of shit. Kirby Right Back at You was so bad. I mean, it wasn't like Donkey Kong,
yeah,
the animated series bad.
I was thinking Kirby wasn't as terrible as Donkey Kong.
No.
And I was happy about that.
Like, it was like Kirby Right Back at You was somewhere between the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, which is pretty good for what it is, and Donkey Kong, the animated series. It's between those two. It was closer to Super Mario Brothers Super Show than it was to, but it still wasn't that good.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that you didn't remember this one. Live the code, the dragon.
No, I said Double Dragon earlier.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I caught that because we were going through so many.
Yeah, Double Dragon, like I said, Double Dragon didn't really have much, and like it wasn't a 1-for-1 translation of the game, but it did get the overall gist of what the game was about translated into things. Except they added a whole bunch of shit like dragon magic powers and swords and shit. But that actually was pretty cool because they wanted to sell toys. Let's see what else. What other cartoons were about that were based on video games back in the day? I already said Kirby Right Back at You. Mortal Kombat, Pac-Man. Pac-Man sucked. I stand by that statement.
The new one or the old one?
I didn't know they had a new one. I'm talking about the old one. That was basically it was like Pac-Man had this weird hat, this fucked up hat on his head.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that there's a second Pac-Man that's called Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures.
Yeah, I was kind of like I really couldn't. I wasn't a big fan of those.
If anything, the only thing that was pretty weird is that I remember that there was a video game based game show that probably would never be that would probably be cheesy as F.
Let me guess. Nick Arcade Challenge with Phil Hartman. Phil, what's his name? Yeah, I used to watch that show all the time. And I'd watch it and I'd see these kids play these games horrifically and I'd be like, man, you suck at playing video games, kid. But then I realized that those kids were playing like TurboGrafx games. Because Nintendo wouldn't give permission for those games to be on that show.
Actually, they have to a mixed result, as in certain games.
No, there were certain games that were on Nintendo consoles that would be on Nick Arcade, but like the mainline, well-known Nintendo games, Nintendo wouldn't give permission for those games to be on that show.
Yeah,
so no Mario, no Legend of Zelda, no Donkey Kong.
Party. That's what I was saying.
It was mostly third parties and obscure ass games like
ActRaiser.
No, not even Castlevania. ActRaiser.
Oh god.
Shit like that.
And don't get me started with the Ghosts and Goblins.
I don't remember Ghosts and Goblins. It would always be like games that, like, if you went to a rental store, there would be the games that no one rented or rented very sparingly. They were always on the shelf. Like that was the type of shit that would be in Nick Arcade. I'm like, damn, this is terrible.
And then and of course they always end with that special battle where you know that they're in a obstacle course.
Well, I mean, they were basically on a green screen being fed instructions. The kids had no idea what they were doing, so that's why it looked so awkward. It's not their fault. Now, I'll tell you what was a good TV show on Nick back in the day. Legends of the Hidden Temple with Olmec. Guts and Guts International.
Do you have it? Oh God! Thank you for pulling that out of my past.
Family Double Dare with Mark Summers. Family Double Dare. Double Dare with Mark Summers. You've been slimed with the gack. It's like, no, not the gack. Nickelodeon had some pretty good programming back in the day. Hell, even their TV shows are pretty good, like Hey Dude and Hey Dude. and salute your shorts. Camp Anawana. Oh man! Now I saw this thing where they had all the kids who grew up, except for the black girl Kelly. I think she died, but the kid who played Donkey Lips looks exactly the same. Looks like a bigger, fatter version of what he was when he was a kid. I'm like, God damn! You look exactly the same.
I was gonna make the joke that he clearly never grew up.
What are you doing here, Donkey Lips? Like some kids when they were kids and then they grow up and they look completely different. Like the kid who played Ralphie in A Christmas Story looked like a nerd when he was a kid. Grew up, the guy looks like a fucking supermodel. He's like a lawyer. Like, I don't know what his sexual orientation is, but he's probably got a lot of play before he quit the field if he's married. But I mean, like some people grow up and they just look like a older version of what they look like as a kid. Like Macaulay Culkin looks pretty much the same. But that's neither here nor there. So we have, I think we've exhausted the cartoon angle. Is there anything else anyone wants to add about arcade games that definitely need arcade games that definitely need arcade only games that definitely need a home console?
I wish I knew more.
Switch. All right. Okay. We'll.
So I think we got time for at least one more thing.
Yeah, we do have one more thing, and it's called the asshole of the week. Week. So, here we go.
And I'm going to give this one, which is kind of a stretch because I found that no big news recently to one of the ex CEOs of EA.
Okay.
If anything, he's still trying to peddle his trash about how it's all surprise mechanics and that they're a long way from gambling. And well, I find that as believable as somebody saying that blue paint is red.
Okay.
So I can already bet Red Fox has something.
Yeah, my asshole of the week is not EA related or anyone associated with EA. My asshole of the week is CD Projekt Red.
And this is to the upper management of CD Projekt Red, not the lower crew.
Yeah, it's to the people who basically are in charge of talking to people and making managerial decisions, shit like this. My asshole of the week goes out to those people who keep on like opening their mouths and talking. Look, at this point, the only thing you guys can do is just work on fixing your game. Stop trying to address rumors and talk about shit. Fix your fucking game. All right? I don't want to hear shit about anything from CD Projekt Red unless it's about you fixing your game. That's it. That's all I got to say. It's So, that's it. That's all I got. Do you have an asshole of the week, Kenoshi, or do you just want to wrap things up?
Yeah, Studio Ghibli. What is wrong with you guys? That 3D movie looks like absolute garbage. Trash. Ugh.
Really?
You guys haven't seen it, have you?
I saw a trailer for it. I thought it looked pretty good. I mean,
I
not
thought
as
it
good
looked
as their
like that.
hand drawn animation, obviously, but not hot
I mean, yeah,
butter
that's what I'm-
garbage.
Well, to me, it looks like, what the heck are you guys thinking?
I
That
mean,
was my reaction.
for 3D, okay. I mean, how much of that is you're not like you're thinking maybe they should have stuck with hand drawn animation?
Yeah, I think mostly has to do with that, and mostly I just seem to measure everything on the Pixar.
Yeah, but I mean,
Which I guess
like, okay,
somewhat unfair, but
I saw some 3D animation that I would stack against Pixar last year. That Lupin movie, that 3D Lupin movie. That movie looks pretty goddamn good,
I
and it's in
haven't seen the
3D.
trailer for it.
Well,
Yeah, I haven't seen the
go on
trailer for it. I'll
YouTube.
check it out.
The 3D Lupin looks pretty goddamn good. I'm not gonna, I
Lupin
don't.
the Third?
Yes, Lupin the Third. It's 3D and
Oh,
it looks
okay.
fucking great. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As someone who is a hardcore, old school, 2D hand drawn animation Lupin person, I was the person who was like, man, they can't do no 3D Lupin. But then I saw it and I'm like, this is actually pretty good. Like, I can't really. I'm like a dude who was like, I don't want no big butt woman. And then a big butt woman walked past and I was like, I cannot deny. I like big butts and I cannot lie. Now other brothers may deny. but yeah,
I mean, who's making? Isn't Lupin a Japanese property?
Yeah, Lupin the Third,
Eh.
and it was done by a Japanese studio, and the shit looks great. You can go on YouTube, look up Lupin the Third 3D animation trailer.
Yeah, this actually doesn't look bad. Looks like a really high quality video game trailer or something.
I mean, it looks really good. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. Like, everyone's like, oh no. Like, I saw it and I'm like, this, like, it looks good to me. Okay, like, I watched it because listen, I am a huge Lupin the Third fan. I have the mangas. I have the animated series on Blu-ray, like the 70s, 80s animated series. I have the reboot from 2000 that was all dark and gritty. That was like rated R, where Lupin and Fujiko got it on, and she didn't tease them. They just totally fucked. It was great. I've got multiple iterations of Lupin the Third. I like all of them. I mean, I was one of those people, man, this shit's not gonna look good. But it totally looks like Lupin the Third.
Yeah, this looks pretty good.
Everyone's like, oh no, man, you can't do, it's not in 3D. It looks pretty good. I mean, look, let me put it this way. I think 3D animation, in order for it to be good, it helps, like, most of the 3D animation that I've seen that's at its best comes from people that are good at 2D animation. Like Pixar, like, people who know how to do shit the hard way appreciate doing it an easier way without getting lazy and taking a lot of shortcuts that makes the quality go down. Which is why really good handcrafted shit stands the test of time. Even if it might not be top of the line at the time, it stands the test of time. But that's my own personal opinion. But I mean, hey man, that's your asshole of the week of Studio Ghibli for finally saying fuck it. We gotta let it go.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand. I understand. Or as to quote Iwata, please understand. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand where people are coming from. I can understand where people are like, I'm not feeling it. So I get it. So anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I think we're set.
All right. That's the end of this podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. We have, well, if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me via video game, Gmail, email, all types of wonderful things, all that stuff. So that being said, the links are all in the description, so I'm not going to shout them all out now. So with that,
Yeah.
rate, comment, share, subscribe, and
Hype responsibly in the year 2021.
yeah, that's right. I almost said 2020, but it's 2021. Good night.